downstairs. Do you know what she did? You know what that girl did.
Hello guys, and welcome to my Halloween Horror Reviews 2020, and man, I cannot tell you guys how excited I am to bring back this series. So, quick little backstory as to why as I do this. So, back in 2011, holy shit, 2011, I was a senior in high school. Wow. I did a little series called the Halloween Horror-thon where for 31 days straight from October 1st to October 31st, I reviewed my top 31 favorite horror films of all time, which, by the way, that list has drastically changed, but anyways, getting back into it. It was a series that, even though I had a ton of fun doing, I admittedly by the 24th or by the 25th day just got a bad burnout, and I just thought there is no way in hell I'm ever doing this again. And then cut to 2018, I decided to bring it back as my Halloween horror reviews, and I had a lot of fun doing it. I didn't do it last year, and I kind of feel bad I didn't do it last year. Starting today and going every Friday, and also one more review on Halloween, I'm going to be talking about some horror films that I either really love, that I really like, a horror film that I think is really underrated, a film that I think should be given a lot more praise, and also a particular horror film that I think didn't get a lot of love when it first came out. Starting off with my Halloween Horror Reviews 2020, I'm taking you guys with me to the year 2009 to review Paranormal Activity. Jesus, to think that that film came out over a decade ago. Wow. The story of Paranormal Activity is really simple. These two people, played by Katie Featherston and Mika Sloat. Katie and Mika are living together in their house, and they have been dating for about 3 years. And they have noticed that some paranormal activity, roll credits, has been going on for quite some time. And Mika decides to buy this big-ass camera because he wants to document anything that happens. And as a result, as you guys can probably imagine, things not only go bump in the night, but things only get worse for these two. Alrighty guys, let's get into Paranormal Activity. Before I talk about everything that I liked and my 2 dislikes about this film, I want to tell you guys 2 stories because, trust me, I feel like I can't talk about this film without telling you guys these stories. So the first one being that now, when the first Paranormal Activity came out, I don't really remember there being a marketing campaign. I mean, there was a smidge bit, but there was a trailer to this film from what I remember. Nothing like that. The only thing that I remember was that, now I think Facebook was just starting to take off a little bit, and YouTube had not become the monster it is now. On YouTube and on Facebook, there were some advertisements for this film, but there wasn't anything grand, because if I remember correctly, this film didn't have the biggest budget. What there was for this film, instead of a trailer, was that there was this marketing campaign said, request a screening for your city. And I remember that I was so interested in seeing, especially seeing this little shot alone, which is the thumbnail for this review. But I remember thinking, holy crap, this actually looks pretty suspenseful and scary. I have got to see this. So of course, as you can imagine, I requested my city to, which didn't happen because it ended up coming to my city as a wide release. One school now, I decided to look up Paranormal Activity, and on the first page of my search results on Google, I found a stream to watch it. So guess what I did? Guess what my stupid self did, guys? I watched it at like, what, 11 o'clock at night, and it ended at what, 1 in the morning, something like that? And I cannot tell you guys how fucking freaked out I was by this movie. I rarely get nightmares from horror films these days. This is one of the few films to scare me to the point where I actually had nightmares. I could not sleep that night after I saw it. And if I remember correctly, actually, the cut of the movie that I saw didn't have the ending that I saw in theaters. Like, the ending I saw was actually Katie, after Mika had died. If I remember correctly, spoiler, I mean, Paranormal Activity has been out for over a decade, so if you haven't seen it, it's on you at this point. Katie was sitting over Mika's dead body. The police came in, and Katie stood up only for her to be shot dead, like that. And the one theater was Katie throwing Mika's body towards the camera, and then you see this. I'll never forget the first time I saw that shot. from this movie. I will never forget that. I got a little sleep that night, and then the next morning I went to school, which by the way was a Christian school, funny enough. But I remember I was not only just tired, like fucking tired, but I wanted to spread my love of this movie. I wanted to praise this movie so much. I remember talking to a buddy of mine, and he said, okay, what's up? And I said, I saw a movie called Paranormal Activity. He said, oh my god, I've heard of that. How was it? And I said, it was scary. Like, really freaking scary. And then later that month, on Halloween out of all days, it was myself, my brother, and my buddy Cody. We went to the theater with the goal of seeing 2 movies, Zombieland and Paranormal Activity. We actually went into the theater. We tried to get tickets, but of course, my buddy Cody and I were underage, but my brother tried to, get us clear of it, but we couldn't do it. So we ended up buying tickets for Astro Boy. And we walked in, and then we were just saying out loud, let's go to the arcade, guys. And I don't know why we did that, because I don't think they even cared anyways. Then we just walked right around to Zombieland. Just because it was dumb, but I remember we were just laughing our asses off about it. We had an amazing time with Zombieland, and then afterwards we went into the Scare Fest that was the original Paranormal Activity. Paranormal Activity was not the first found footage horror film out there. If I remember correctly, it was Blair Witch Project, or I think it was Cannibal Holocaust. I remember Blair Witch Project was really the first found footage horror film to scare the shit out of us, but then Paranormal Activity essentially brought the found footage horror craze, and there was a franchise. There was also Devil's Due, there was also As Above So Below, which I think is one of the better found footage horror movies out there. The third Paranormal Activity film is really good, and in fact it's my second favorite behind the first one, but the reason why that film just doesn't scare me as much is because, the added cameras, to which, by the way, I like that they added the mechanic of having more cameras, but at the same time, there's just something about the simplicity of that one camera and the fact that you're not able to see everything. I just feel like that the more cameras they added, the less scary that it got. Really only 2 main performances, Katie Featherston and Mika Sloat, and the 2 of them are very likable, even though I have some thoughts about Mika, which I will get into a little bit, but they're 2 characters that I genuinely like. One particular thing I will say that the third one has over the first one is that when it comes to the characters, you care about every single character. The thing I liked about this movie even more so when it came to the characters, you understand both sides of the coin. You understand why Mika wants to record all of this, and even though he gets a little overly excited, which I'm not gonna lie, I'd probably be in his shoes, even though I'd be a tad bit more scared than he was. But on Katie's side, yeah, you understand why she's scared of this, because this thing has been following her since she was 8 years old. The third Paranormal Activity film. But when it comes to Mika's side, you understand why he wants to document all of this. I feel like at the same time, he only wanted to present more evidence to those who came to their house. They could get more help. Even though his methods weren't the greatest, they worked. But still, they weren't the greatest methods, I have to say. Getting into the real reason why I'm talking about this film and the reason why I'm doing this, the horror of this film, is it scary? Yes. Before the next ones came about, this was a film that wanted to scare you with 2 particular things, or actually 3. One white shot in the middle of the night, amazing ambient sound design, and then clever special effects which can only be used at this point with a low budget that can only be limited by your creativity. Say what you love about Paranormal Activity even if you hate it, but you cannot deny that what it did for the horror genre, specifically what it did for found footage horror, and it's even more special in the fact that the film is so low budget. But one particular thing that I absolutely loved about Paranormal Activity, and I love this over the next ones, even though the third one is very good as well, the fact that this film only has one camera that has that one white shot, and the only thing you see is the 2 of them sleeping, but you don't see anything else, and everything else is covered in pitch black darkness. If you ask me, only thing's way more scary, and it brings to the statement, less is more. Because I remember that even on the first night, now, if I remember correctly, the next Paranormal Activity films afterwards, nothing really started to happen until like, what, 4 nights in or something like that? No. With the first Paranormal Activity, shit gets real within the first night. Even though it's very subtle, it still just gradually builds and builds and builds. And the best about this movie too when it comes to horror is that even when that night is over and you think the scares are over, no, you're sadly mistaken, because that thing is still there watching them. Everyone always mentions that one scare, which, by the way, do not get me wrong, it is fucking terrifying. And it's a scare where Katie is dragged out of their bed and she screams, Mika, when Mika just jumps out of bed. I'm not gonna lie, my hairs just stood up just standing on the back of my neck. But to me, that isn't the scariest scene of this movie. To me, the best scene of this film, the scariest scene of this entire film is, I think it's night 3, if I remember correctly. I don't remember which night it was. But basically what happens is that it starts off, I believe I remember correctly, you see a big black mass going over the door. You hear loud footsteps. I mean, loud thuds. Then you hear then you hear this. Guys, goosebumps all over my body. That to me was the scene that gave me nightmares. Simplicity, one shot, amazing sound design. What you have there is nightmare fuel, straight up nightmare fuel. As the nights go on, things get progressively worse. You still hear footsteps, you still hear things, but from what I noticed this time watching it is this. Now, even at certain times during the night when they're not even in their bed, even outside around Katie, you can still hear a little bit of bass. And it makes it even worse when the things are still happening in the broad daylight. Yeah, this demon ain't fucking around. It still scares the shit out of me. Now, I will say, when I watched it last night, it didn't give me nightmares like it did the first time I watched it. But still, is it scary? Yes. I will even say that in terms of scary things, I will say that the Paranormal Activity 3, the fan camera where it goes this way, that is scary because that can lead to some amazing jump scares. But here's the thing, guys. This film wasn't all about jump scares. To be granted, there are some really good jump scares, but it's something that all of a sudden pops in the shot, except for one little false scare to which, honestly, they didn't have a loud sound effect. What this film does instead is that it's just a build-up, a build-up, a build-up, a build-up, maybe a little scare. It goes back down, not by too much, and then it's a build-up, a build-up, a build-up, a scare. But the thing you notice is that every time a night goes on, the scares only build up and get even scarier. And the better thing about the scares is this. Even after that final scare when Katie lunges at the camera, the fear ain't done. And you want to know why? No, I'm only echoing this because I agree. Jeremy Johns is the reason why I started doing movie reviews. He illustrated this perfectly. There is essentially an encore to this movie. And you know what that is? Think about this. Look at the poster of this movie. What are they sleeping in? And what are you about to sleep in? A bed. It's fucking perfect. And something I realized about the horror that makes this film even scarier. There will be multiple times throughout any of the nights to which you'll probably be like, I mean, I was definitely like this. Wait a second. What the fuck was that? It happened quite a few times, especially the night when the demon leaves those footprints. There is no denying that even though I know that some people out there don't love the first Paranormal Activity, and to be fair, the Paranormal Activity films after the first one, especially after the third one, they got worse and worse and worse. For the Ghost Dimension, we're never going to talk about that piece of shit. But one thing in particular that I have to talk about, one big reason as to why I love the original Paranormal Activity compared to the other ones is that, if you guys remember, in Paranormal Activities 2, even in 3, which is one I really like, and all the other ones, there's always this big grand finale where everything shakes, there are all these sounds. Nothing like that happens in the original. Katie screams, Mika goes downwards, you hear no sound, he gets thrown against the camera, and Katie lunges after it. No big grand finale. It's not as big and grandiose as the next Paranormal Activity films. It was all very small. And how this film does brilliantly connect to the third Paranormal Activity, I thought was just absolutely genius. Do not get me wrong, guys, I love the original Paranormal Activity. However, I do have two little issues with this movie. One of them being with Mika. Now, this is kind of a half and half thing, because like I said, I think Mika is a likable character. I like his chemistry with Katie. To be fair, I do really think he wants to help Katie. However, at the same time, I cannot deny he makes some stupid ass decisions, like particularly Mika. Why in the shitting hell would you get a Ouija board? Why? When the psychic tells you that a Ouija board will only make things worse and it's making it clear to the demon that you want to communicate, you do it anyways? That demon who said, whatever, on that EVP when he was responding to you with the Ouija board, he wants to do worse things to you. The fact that he did it, I remember when I first saw this, I just thought, you fucking idiot! I see what you're trying to do, you want to help. Your methods, however, aren't the greatest, my dude. My other issue with this film is the one false jump scare. Now, to be fair, this jump scare doesn't result in a big-ass sound effect. All it is Mika just doing this. Oh my god, Katie. That's all he does. Like, he just spins the camera around. To be fair, that had become a staple of Paranormal Activity at that point, other than the high bass rising. But even in the original film, it doesn't raise the bass that fucking much. So overall, guys, despite my 2 issues with this movie, I still love the original Paranormal Activity film. Now, sure, a lot of people can say that the third Paranormal Activity film was a better film. In some aspects, yes, particularly with the characters. You actually do care about all the characters who are here. Mika, like I said, makes some stupid, dumbass decisions, but nonetheless, guys, this is a film that you cannot deny, even if you hate this film, what Paranormal Activity did, not only for the found footage genre. I don't think we can all deny what this film did for the horror genre, even though there are some things that it did for the better, and there are some things that it did for the worse. Everything is very subtle, it's creative, it's very simplistic, and that to me is why I love the original Paranormal Activity compared to especially those other craptastic films, even though the third one is largely better than the other ones. But all in all, guys, I think that Paranormal Activity is a terrific horror film. It's a great found footage movie. I think it is a movie that is fucking scary. And all in all, I'm gonna give the original Paranormal Activity a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is still a film that retains its mark on me. Alrighty, guys, so comment down, let me know below. What do you guys think of the original Paranormal Activity, or which one is your favorite Paranormal Activity? Let me know below. If you guys want to follow me on social media, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I'm also on Snapchat and Stardust, so if you guys want to follow me on all those social media platforms, all the links in the usernames are in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the original Paranormal Activity. If so, please hit that like button, also subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for whenever the latest video of mine goes live for the next Halloween horror review for me goes live, which is next Friday. And if you guys want to see any of my previous 2 reviews, please click on the right there or there. And of course, until my next review, I will see you guys next time.